You want to start your bag with 3mm macrame cord. I cut them to be approximately 9 feet in length, and I'm now doing a lark's head knot. I was able to find the handles by going to a thrift store and finding them in the crafts section. I think I paid $2 for both of them, so I thought that was a great price. But from here, you're going to continue all the way across with lark's head knots. And I believe it took me 40 strands or cords to get the entire way across. Here I am about 3/4 of the way. So we have all 40 strands on, and we're now going to continue to add lark's head knots that are 9 foot in length as well to the outside 2 cords on each side of the handle. I did 4, but I'd highly recommend doing more if you would like your bag to be a little wider at the top where the mouth portion is. You'll see when you get further in what I'm talking about. But here I added 4 on each side. So then we're just going to repeat this on the other side. Once you've found the center 4 cords, so the center of the bag here, these 4 cords, we are going to make a spiral knot or a twisted square knot, whichever way you want to call that. So to do that, you're going to do the first part of a square knot, pull it up, give it a gentle tug, and then do the first part of a square knot again. Give it a little tug. It's going to start to twist a little because you're doing the first part of the square knot and not the second. So just continue doing the first part of a square knot, and it's going to twist. And I believe I do 6 of these with this 4 strands here, so we'll just watch and see. So after making your 6th knot in your twisted square knot, you should be facing forward again. And then you're just going to repeat these, going all the way from the center to the right and from the center going to the left. But for me, I'm going to start with just making one here on the left. And then I'm going to make one here on the right of the center. So from here, I'm going to be making double alternating square knots. So to do that, you actually make a square knot, and I'm making that square knot using 2 strands from the left twisted square knot and 2 strands from the right twisted square knot. As you can see, I'm now making my second square knot, and that will complete one knot there. Then we're going to take the 4 strands to the right and do the same thing. Start by making 1 square knot, and then making your second square knot on the same 2 strands. This makes a double alternating square knot when you then take the 2 here on the right and 2 here on the left and make another double square knot, and that'll get us a little bit of a point going. And right here is what your center should then look like. You'll have 3 of your twisted square knots. Now we're going to continue those twisted square knots all the way to the right. Once that's completed, you're then going to begin making your spiral knot or twisted square knots going to the left. With all of your spiral knots complete, we are now going to continue on with our double alternating square knots. Now that I have my V created, I'm going to begin filling it in a little more to the right and to the left. So starting here on the left, I'm just going to continue making double alternating square knots. Now I'm going to repeat these 3 knots here on the left over onto the right, and then begin filling that in until I get yet another V shape. Now with 12 layers of double alternating square knots, we can begin to fill them in. So from the left, I'm filling them in till I get to the end. And it's going to leave 2 strands or 2 cords on the left, and we're going to leave them there. Now we're going to fill in everything on the right hand side. And then begin filling in down to that bottom area or bottom point. Filling this in will take quite a bit of time, so I'll show you it as quickly as I possibly can with getting this one panel complete. So here we go on the left. I'm just going to start filling in. So here you have the very last knot being made for this panel. So the panel is now complete. Looking at it from different angles, you can see the holes that using the double alternating square knots allow it to give. And I think this will look great by adding a different color, like maybe black, of a liner to the inside of the bag so that nothing can fall out, but it also give it a little bit of a pop of color. So we have our first panel complete. We got our string and scissors ready to go with our second one. And let's just get that second panel done. And just like that, we have our second panel complete. So we're just going to place them a little bit closer together side by side. And it's time to make some knots again. So take 2 strands from each side of the bag. And we're going to actually tie a knot here with the 2 strands. So the 2 go over, through, down, and pull. You want to make sure that this is as tight as possible. And then you're going to make another knot going around, over, and pulling through. You're going to pull this as tight as possible. Once you get that knot in place, you're just going to line it up. Take your 4 strands now, and you're going to make your twisted square knot just like you did on the others. So you're going to make 6 of the first parts of a square knot to make a twisted square knot or a spiral square knot, joining the 2 sides or 2 panels together. Now that we have that complete, we're going to spend the rest of our time filling in from this side of the panel to that side of the panel all the way down with double alternating square knots. Just keep at it. The more you do, the more you do, the more you do. One knot at a time, and you will get it completed. And here we are finishing up the last of the knots for this side panel to be joined together. So here you go, one full panel of double alternating square knots all the way across, filled in. Now let's switch the bag. Okay, so from this view you'll see that I'm going to go ahead and take the 2 strands from the left and the 2 strands from the right, and we're just going to repeat the same process that we did on the other side to get this side brought together. So that's taking those center strings and making a double knot with them. So here we'll just make the first part of the knot, and then what you can't see is me making that second part of the knot, giving it a pull through. It's just a regular double knot to hold it in place while I take all 4 strands and make that twisted square knot or spiral knot. So now we take all 4 and we're going to do 6 of the beginning of a square knot to make our twisted square knot or spiral knot, joining the 2 bags together. Now that that's complete, we're going to go ahead and fill it in with all of our double alternating square knots. So all the way down the left, all the way down the right, and filling in the center down to the bottom. Here you go. We have our bag made down to this point. So from here, we're going to focus on the bottom portion of the bag. From this point, we are going to make switch knots on the bottom of the bag. Start by taking 2 strands from the left knot, 2 strands from the right knot, hold all 4 strands in your hand, take the 2 outer strands, bring them to the center. Now treat the outside as the outside, the inside as the inside, and just make a square knot. Just give it a little pull through. As you tighten it, you'll see that it has a little bit of a V shape. And you're going to finish off that square knot by bringing your right over your left, bringing it up and through, and giving it a tug. And you're going to do this all the way around the bag. So again, take 2 strands from the right, 2 strands from the left, take your outer strands, make them your inside strands, and then just make a square knot. You're now going to make this knot the entire way around the bag, from left to right, all the way around, making switch knots. So here we go, making our very last knot for the bottom portion of the bag. And the reason we make this knot is that V shape will help it to kind of cup into a bottom position to help the bag sit properly when we make the bottom of the bag. So speaking of the bottom of the bag, here we go. Let's do that. You want to start by finding the center of the bag, following it down until you get to the bottom. When you get to the bottom, you're going to pull 4 strands, 2 from one side, 2 from the other, and you're going to make a square knot. After your first square knot is complete, we're going to move over to the left, grab the next 4, and make another square knot. And we're going to repeat this on the left until you have 3 square knots on the left. repeat that and put 3 square knots on the right. So from here, we're going to start doing alternating square knots. Not double, but just single, so that nothing can fall through the bottom of the bag and it makes it nice and sturdy. So I'm just going to work on doing 1 square knot at a time, working my way across and down until I make a V. In the video, I tell you to do 4 rows. But by the time I'm working on the bottom, I learned that you should continue to make your rows until you get a full V. Like I said, at this point you're not complete. You want to finish that downwards into a V shape. But what you are going to get out of this is the bottom corner, and the bottom corner will allow it to kind of cup upwards like this so that your bag can sit. So this is just one side. You're going to repeat this with a full V on the other side. When you're complete, you'll go ahead and turn your bag so that you have the front or the back facing you, as you can see here. Okay, so now both the sides of the bags are complete. So we're going to work on the front and the back and bringing it down into a V shape by doing alternating square knots just like we did on the side. So here you go. One side complete. You can make it a little bit deeper if you would like, but I left mine 4 rows deep. Then just get the other side complete. There you go. We have the other side complete. So from here, we're going to be ready to take our entire bag. It's complete. Take it off and turn it inside out. So once your bag is on the ground or on the table, at least ready to get to it, you're just going to take your time and you're going to pull it through. You can see I'm having a hard time with mine, and that's because I did not make it wide enough. It's still wide and I'm going to make it work, but I should have added more than 4 strands to each side of the bag when I started. But we're here, so our bag is inside out. Let's get it ready and we'll start closing in one corner of the bag. strands for our corner. We're going to grab the center 2 strands, so center 2, and then grab 2 to the right and 2 to the left so that you have 4 strands. And we're going to do a square knot around that center main cord. That is going to stay the same, and we're going to use these side cords to kind of fill it in. So to do that, we're going to start by making a square knot. And this, you cannot pull tight enough, like tight, tight, tight. Pull as tight as you can as you're working these corners and the bottom of the bag. So we have our square knot, pulling it as tight as possible. Now take those 2 strands and just get them out of the way. Pick up your next 2 strands and make a square knot again around those 2 main cords. We are not going to move those 2 cords. We're going to work around the 2 cords. So pulling it tightly again, make another square knot, and we're going to continue our way down, doing this over and over until you get to the bottom portion of the bag where your corner V ends. Now that you've made it to the bottom, you're going to take that strand there and just sit it up out of the way. tie it up because you're going to repeat that on all four corners. So I just used a hair tie to kind of hold the strands that were complete out of the way. So here I am getting ready to start the bottom of the bag. So as you can see, I have a few extra strands here. If you're following along and doing it as I'm doing it, you're going to see that it needs to be worked a little bit harder to get that V shape complete that I told you to go ahead and do earlier. If you didn't do it earlier, it's still workable. You can just follow along. As you see, I'm making a little bit of a V here. Okay, now that both of my corners are complete and I have them tied up and out of the way, so both of them are done all the way up in the corner, we're going to now work our way from there on the bottom across and do a repeat on both sides. Okay, now all four corners are done. I have it set up to work on closing the bottom of the bag. So here, as you can see, I have all these strings that need to be closed in nice and tight to make the bottom of the bag. So to do that, we're going to take the two main strings that we had at the top of each corner that came together, and we're going to work on making square knots just like we did on the corners, but on the bottom. We're going to go a little bit on this side, and then we're going to turn the bag around and work a little bit on the other side. Now everything we just did right here, we are going to turn our work around and we are going to repeat that on the other side, leaving the center still a little open. Okay, so from here, we're going to close up the center of this bag, but we're going to make the center a little bit firmer. So to do that, we're going to take our main cord from the bottom and our main cord from the top. As you can see, I have them both right here, bottom one and top one. We're going to cross them over each other like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and make square knots over top of them. Okay, so holding them together, pick up your next strand from each side and make your square knot just as you normally would, but over all 4 strands instead of 2 strands. Hope this makes sense. And try not to lose those 2 cords, the main cords, because you are going to need to pull them tightly when we're finished. Okay, let's turn our work around. There's still a little bit of a hole left. You'll see it here momentarily as soon as I get these strings moved around some. As you can see, there's still a little bit to go. Got my core cords. There you go. And we're going to just keep going, making our square knots around all 4 of those core cords. So making our square knots, just keep going. Okay, so from here we have all of our cords completed. And you're going to see we still have a loop in the center that we were working over top of. We're going to take those two core cords and give them a tug. And as we tug it, you'll see that center loop is just kind of disappearing. So just give it a nice tight tug. It's going to take some real strength here, but it's going to really tighten up the bottom of that bag. Okay, so from here, our bag is complete. Take our two main cords that we just pulled, and we're going to cut them first. Then just cut the rest of the cords, leaving about 1/4 of an inch all the way around the bag. Once all of the cords have been cut, you can see we're ready to go ahead and turn our bag right side round. So just take your time and pull it back around, and then you can kind of shape the corners and the bottom of the bag to get it to want to sit properly. And if you want, you can be completely done right now. This could be the finish of your bag. Or you could do an interior liner if you wanted to maybe have some color pop between the holes. But at this stage, the bag is complete.